Hi, everyone. Today we're talking with Colevin Crause from Victoria, an investment realtor specialist. Lots of experience helping not only folks with their residential needs, but also navigating the wild world of investment properties. And right now it's a very exciting world in Victoria. So welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you help investors.
Thanks for having me. For those of you who don't know me, Roland kind of nailed it already. I do work primarily with investors, and I come by it honestly. I'm a second generation realtor, and my folks not only are realtors, but they've been investors since roughly since dinosaurs roamed the earth, and they're also developers as well. And so that's kind of how I got into it. The first book I read that really got me into it, same as 99.9% of people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki kind of led the way for that for me. And now it's morphing. The more I get into it, the more I realize that investing in real estate is about competitive advantage. Um, and really kind of doing your best to be the weatherman, predicting patterns, solving problems, and being the first to know market information that's hyper local. And that can give you an edge moving forward. So that's what I provide for my clients.
Nice, nice. So I hear you have a short presentation that kind of gives a good overview of what's happening in Victoria and why you don't think the growth run is over yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very bullish on the Victoria market. The strategies that will present themselves, they're not for everybody. I mean, depending on your specific goal, not every real estate strategy is going to get you to that goal. It doesn't mean the other strategies are wrong, just means that they're not for you right now. So, if you have $15,000 and you want to buy a home out here, that's not going to cut it. You might be able to buy a driveway, maybe. So lots of opportunity. It's not for everyone, but I hope to present you with information so that you can critically think about whatever market you're in, because you should be able to follow similar steps to come to similar conclusions as to, should I be in this market or not?
Beautiful. Did I give you control to present?
Yes, one sec. Okay. Perfect. Can you see my screen, Roland?
Yeah, it's looking great.
Okay, awesome. So this is me. I'm a realtor here, obviously in beautiful Victoria, BC. I'm a real estate investor. I'm also the vice president of Royal LePage Commercial for Vancouver Island. And in the next 15 minutes, roughly, you're going to learn some of the exact strategies and insider information used by some of Canada's biggest REITs, that are now active here. And that's so that you can take what they're doing and why they're doing it, implement it for yourself to put yourself in the position to have the best chance of success. I mean, all investing comes with risks, but we want to try and mitigate that and put you in the best position to succeed. And we're going to do that primarily by getting ahead of a very large supply and demand problem. Next. Okay. So there's a ton of distractions in this world. I have 4 kids, so it's all over the place. But this strategy, this methodology I'm going to go over can literally change your life. So I don't want you to miss a single crucial piece of it. So please take a moment, commit to yourself, stay focused, turn off your phone, close the door, close the blinds, whatever it is you need to do. So please make a commitment to yourself. Lock in. Can you do that for yourself? Okay. So here we go. Let me start by asking you, what is the value of each house? Go ahead, if you have the chat window open, type it in there. What do you think the value of home A is and the value of home B is? Just give you one sec. The answer is it's relative, right? So A is a 2,300 square foot home in East Vancouver. It's completely run down. The other, as you can see, is this massive, beautiful luxury home in Victoria. And, for those of you familiar with the region, we're not exactly very far away from each other, and we share a lot of the same, climate, and actually we're the capital city. So take that, Vancouver. Supply and demand is what really dictates this, right? Economics 101. What is the value of something? Well, how bad does somebody or somebodies want it? And then are they able to pay for it? And so you'll get this kind of bidding up and bidding down mentality. So it's really the economic truth that predicts value, and it's quite simple. Let me tell you a story to help illustrate this. When I had my first child, and I was wretchedly sleep deprived. If any of you have kids, you totally get this. I was 24 years old, married, had my first kid, and everything was going good, or so we thought. And then around 7 months, he started teething. Well, we didn't even know what the heck this was, right? Like, for first kid, or like, what is going on? So instead of waking up every 2 to 3 hours in the night for a feed, now it was like constant. Like, now it was feed and then cry and then sleep for about half an hour, repeat, and then it would go on into the day. And so, how much worse could it get? It got to the point where we were living in a basement suite at the time. And so we were very conscious about a screaming kid throughout the whole day. And so to try and help the people upstairs not bang on the floor and get mad at us, we would take our child out in the car and just drive around. We drive around for like 45 minutes, just middle of the night. There's something about driving a car that helps put children to sleep, so we found. But I mean, teething, it was super painful, so he would continue to cry. And I was just about out of hope. And then I learned about something magical from someone who had survived teething with their kid, and they ended up actually getting sleep while doing it. And so I thought I could get from severe sleep deprivation back to mild sleep deprivation. And Oragel, this was it. That wonderful human being had introduced me to Oragel, showing me the way I had hope again. So the next night we were driving around, half asleep, ears ringing from the screaming child. Do you know where I went? Wherever was open. It's middle of the night too. It's like, I think it was 2 a.m, and Shoppers Drug Mart was open. It was open 24 hours. So I marched in there on a mission. I was gonna find this Oragel, and I was gonna pay anything for it. It was the only place open. I didn't care. I had a problem. I was in a jam. And to this day, I don't actually know what I paid for it, but it was probably an exorbitant amount compared to anywhere else I would go, because I needed it and it was convenient at the time. So why did I tell you this story? Supply and demand. I would have paid $50 that night, and I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have been worth every penny of it. So again, the same reason why I paid for that is the same reason why Home A sold for $2.2 million and Home B sold for $1.7 million. It's supply and demand. So imagine what your life will be like when you know how to predict supply and demand problems. Can you see how this could apply to real estate? If you could do that, would it make things better for you as you go about investing in real estate? So let me show you why REITs are so aggressive in Victoria. Even now with, I was just telling Roland before we hopped on here that we're below 2,000 listings right now. Like, our listings are plummeting every month. We're not getting enough supply to meet that demand. And yet we still have REITs coming in here, smart money coming in here and buying things up. So right now, Greater Victoria is sitting at a population of roughly 367,000, and our real estate market is on fire, and that's both for rentals and for buys. So these statistics are as of October. 2-bedroom rental rates, according to PadMapper, are up 15.1% year over year. Contrast that to Vancouver, which 2-bedroom rental rates are down 15% year over year. Sales of single-family homes up 53%. Sales of condos up 70, new listings up to almost 27. And you'd think that'd be an awesome thing, but active listings are down almost 20%. So we can't supply them fast enough. Active listings are down month over month, 11.8 or 11.18%, and that's from September to October. So something's going on here. So the first trend I want to highlight for you is the prevalence of working from home. Right, so COVID, we're going into another set of lockdowns here, most likely, depending what part of the province you're in. You're already in that lockdown, and so this is extremely evident when you look at Zoom. Conveniently, we're all on it right now. Zoom Video Communications Inc., the company, at the beginning of March 2020, their stock was sitting at $113. As of November 11th, it had reached $413 a share. It's clear result, supply and demand. So I remember having a conversation with a really well-respected and very, very successful real estate investor in March. And he was like, I'm thinking about investing in Zoom. He knows roughly nothing about stocks. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, stick with what works. What are you doing? Like the whole, the one thing and focus on this. And he's like, well, we're not going to be able to have these meetings in person anymore. And a lot of business meetings, their staff are getting sent home. And so they're going to have to communicate, and, FaceTime and some of the other ones, like, they just won't do the trick. So I think everyone's going to have to start using Zoom, and like, it's really going to explode. And so he saw the trend emerging, and he believed it would continue, and he took action. And now the stock's up over 300%, and he looks absolutely brilliant. But really, the basics of what happened there was supply and demand. He read it, made a play, and it turned out really well. So Buffer, it's a digital product and marketing company, did a study in 2019 called the State of Remote Report. So 2019, this is before COVID. The data they collected showed that 99% of people would like to work remote at least some of the time. And then 95% of those encouraged others to do the same. The two biggest benefits for respondents were a flexible schedule and working from any location, though the same study showed that of those who do work remotely, 80% worked from home. So where did the other people work? Coffee shops, beaches, etc. A lot of those places are closed or will be closing soon on this lockdown. So it's going to make more people work from home. And so if you're in a bachelor, or if you're in a one bedroom with a kid, and this is going to become your new normal, you need more space. And so you become a buyer in the market. And that's why we're seeing the single family home and in townhome to some degree really spike price wise in comparison to the others, because people are flocking away from high density multifamily, if they can, into getting a little bit more space. But I wanted to highlight this because the idea of working from home was already here to stay in 2019. And then COVID came along. And as we all know, this trend has exploded out of necessity. And I think COVID's done this in a lot of areas. It's taken trends that were already happening, and it's just expedited it. It's just made it happen faster. So if you could work from anywhere in Canada, which winter storm would you rather endure? If you had to cancel your trip to Arizona this year, where would you rather spend your winter season? One of the biggest trends I've experienced personally in my real estate business is I talked to someone and they're like, hey, I was going to retire there in 4 to 5 years anyway. And then COVID happened, and I'm like, why the heck wouldn't I just do it now? And that's a very real thing. And that's not just baby boomers. That's working people. We had clients move out from Montreal, a young working couple in the tech space. And they're like, why the heck are we staying in Montreal? We can work, they've allowed us to work from home now. To heck with that. We're going to Vancouver Island. Also, people go where the jobs go, right? So another reason people are flocking to BC is because of jobs. As of October, Victoria's unemployment rate was sizably lower than the national average. But if we dig a little deeper, we can see a lot more jobs on the horizon, even still. Seacliff Properties, huge developer out of Calgary. They currently have 3 properties in Greater Victoria, totaling over 190 acres of development land, including 1.3 kilometers of shoreline in the new Royal Bay development. What else do they have here? They're going to be 10-year build-outs with thousands of residential, commercial, and industrial, and even some institutional properties. Notable projects within that include a multi-million-dollar warehouse project for a company called C-SPAN, another multi-million-dollar project for Royal BC Museum. Companies like Seacliff, Centurion, and Skyline, they don't buy these properties and do massive projects here on a whim. They pay some very, very smart people a lot of money to observe and analyze information, and then they move quickly. So it's like, it's really, really slow, really, really slow. Bam, they're gone, because now they've got the green light from these very, very smart employees that they pay a lot of money for, and you don't have to duplicate what they do. There's this idea of like go where the smart money goes, or like learn from people's success so that you don't have to duplicate their failures. This is one of the spillovers of sustained and projected growth. It's amenity space. So this photo is a rendering of the National Maritime Museum and Performing Arts Center that's going to be built here in Langford. It's estimated to be $87 million to build it. That's a lot of jobs and a lot of money flowing into the economy. These massive projects and many more will require a substantial workforce. And quite frankly, our market's already experiencing a workforce crunch, a skilled labor crunch. And so it's going to bring even more people to the region. Another trend we're seeing is a flood of offshore buyers with a lot of money, Vancouver. But I really want to highlight this point of labor as one of the reasons people are coming here. From January to, was it June or July? One of the two, forgive me. Over 15,000 people had already migrated from Alberta alone to here, to BC. And then over 36,000 had migrated from the rest of Canada to BC. That's a substantial amount of migration considering our borders were closed. And I suspect that trend only picked up speed after that. So Vancouver's only about an hour and 45 minutes away by the ferry. And as I've said before, they share many of the same features, except Vancouver gets 30% more rain than we do. And the real estate's way more expensive and it's a bit more crowded. But other than that, we're virtually the same. So this is the Vancouver benchmark price as of October for single family homes. When you plot that next to Victoria, wow, there's a bit of a difference here. There's a spread of $728,000. And again, for being so close in proximity, it's a bit ridiculous. Victoria is the capital city. We don't see the same precipitous drops that Vancouver does if you look at the map there. But you can see that we're just steady Eddie, slowly going up. But which is why Home A sold for 2.2 and Home B for 1.7, right? So if you did that, you'd leave with a spread of $600,000. It's not a bad move. It's kind of like winning the lottery, right? Not only do you upsize and you get a much nicer home, but you also pocket a lottery's worth of cash. When most people think of Victoria, this is likely what you think of, a sleepy retirement town. And that's really only half true. Let me explain the situation to you so you fully understand what's happening here, because it's enormous. So the BMO Retirement Institute, they did a study and they found that 15% of baby boomers chose Victoria as their top retirement destination. Well, that's neat, but it's kind of like abstract information. You're like, what does that actually mean to me? Well, at the same time, according to population estimates by Stats Canada, baby boomers account for roughly 25.6% of Canada's population. And also, according to their population estimates, the Canadian population as of July 2020 was just a little over 38 million people. So 38,005,238 to be exact. So if you are really good at mental math, you can quickly crunch those numbers. But if not, don't worry, I've taken care of it for you. This is the equation. So this equation therefore represents the number of baby boomers that would like to retire to Victoria. Anybody really, really good at mental math here? Okay. 1.459 million people would like to retire to Victoria if they could. We only have 1,600 homes on the market currently and are seeing bidding wars and multiple offers and unconditional offers. We have a bit of a problem. There's this silver tsunami coming to Victoria. Our current population is only 367,000 people. So, this is a bit of a problem. If this isn't as obvious a looming supply and demand problem as you've ever seen, I don't know what is, quite frankly. Not only the baby boomers, but think about the spin-offs from this. It'll be attracting more people here to build the houses, as I've already talked about. You've got to increase the healthcare capacity, which is already at breaking point because of COVID, but we're going to need more and more of them here. Vaccine comes out and there's a little bit little bit more of an ability to shift. We're going to see nurses and stuff migrate out here because our demand is just insane. Warehousing for all the goods, grocery stores, schools, because people that build the houses are going to have families and they need schools, and our schools are already overflowing. It's crazy. It's crazy town. And so to further exacerbate the supply and demand problem is the closure of the border. And quite frankly, even if the border opens, not to hijack for political anything, but either way that splits, I think we're going to see a lot of US citizens want to get out of their country and into ours. And so it's just going to compound. Can you see how the supply and demand crisis is only just beginning here? You've got the silver tsunami of over 1.4 that want to come here. You've got the remote workers migrating here, folks cashing out of Vancouver are pouring over, and people who have lost their jobs across Canada are coming here because we actually have jobs for them to take. So some of the models that work here right now, the market's really, really fast. So it's hard for me to like prep a slideshow and actually have properties that are available because they're likely sold by the time I get around to the presentation. But a couple of the models that are working here right now for investors, turnkey. There's some duplexes being built in a beautiful seaside neighborhood called Souk. You can pick them up for around 700 grand, and they'll rent anywhere from, I think the worst one I did a projection for was 3,500, and the best was 4,300 a month. Really not bad. Brand new build, 2-5-10 warranty, so your maintenance is really low as well. Flipping, supply and demand problem, right? So if you can get a really piece of garbage house and fix it up, it's going to be worth substantially more. Right now, there's a property on the market. It's a court-ordered sale, single-family home, Langford. I think they're asking 360. I've been through it. Smells like an ashtray, piece of garbage. But the ARV is about 600,000. And so you're going to have to compete in court for it if you need help navigating the process. Roland and I, or whoever you choose, can help you through that. Subdividing, I call this pizza by the slice. And there's a few ways to do this, right? You buy a big parcel, you chop it up into lots. We need more houses, so builders are starving for lots to build on, and then you sell the lots. Another way to do it, though I don't think many of the municipalities here, if any, allow for it anymore, but depending where you are, you might be able to, and that's getting an apartment building, stratifying it, and then selling off the pieces, right? So the same idea, buy big, sell off the little pieces. Building brand new, obviously. There's about 200 meters from my house, there's a brand new build that pre-sold for 1.165 million, and the lot was 400,000. 2,800 square foot home, 3 bedrooms up, a legal basement suite, 1 bedroom, and then a 1 bedroom, what do they call it? Unauthorized suite. It's not the word I'm looking for. Roland, you're muted. Anyway, granny flat, essentially. And then buy low, sell high. So the Vancouver model, if you're in GTA, or if you're in Vancouver or another submarket that's really hot right now and the prices are substantially higher, a way of investing in yourself could be to sell that, move here where the climate's likely substantially better, buy a beautiful brand new huge home, pocket the rest, and then we can help you invest that, or you can put it in a stocks or whatever it is you want to do. So that's really about it. I do look forward to hearing from you. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Greater Victoria, I'd love to be your go-to realtor. Thanks so much for having me here, guys. And I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. And now I will switch it back to Roland.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really love that you're bringing a lot of like macro factors in play, because often I think people forget about that and forget that is often the things that differentiate between places, right? It's what's happening. Where would you invest right now if you were buying a typical property? Would it be like in Langford and outside of downtown Victoria, or is it opportunities all over given the price point?
It's, we kind of touched on this before we hopped on and started recording, and whatever your end goal is, there's going to be different strategies within real estate that can help get you there, right? So Downtown Victoria is a bit of a mess right now, mayoral situation, whatever. But you can pick up one of those really old giant homes called a character home, and you can cut it up into 4 or 5, 6 units and either stratify it or keep it as a rental property. So there's a play there, but you got to have deep pockets. If you're looking for just the cash flow because your number one goal is, I hate my job and I can't stomach thinking about doing it for another month. Then there's another strategy where there's some mobile home parks, not all of them, but some that allow for rentals and some that even allow for short-term rentals. That market's a little hit and miss right now because of what's going on, but you can pick up a mobile home for 130 grand, rent it out for 1,800 bucks a month. So you can solve a cash flow problem there. And then you'll get people, of course, in the education, being like, well, that's garbage because of your appreciation and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, hold on, what is the goal? Like, this doesn't have to be your goal forever. But if the number one goal right now is just to quit your job and replace your income, it could be a way to go. And then once you've hit that financial freedom point, now you could pivot to some of the other strategies. To get back to your main question, I think getting back to statistics is good. And the statistic is this: over 55% of Victoria's growth is projected to be in the West Shore, Langford, Colwood, Souk, because that's where municipalities are allowing homes to be built. So if people are moving here, huge supply and demand problem, they're going to go where they can buy a house. And that's out here. So yeah, I would be buying parcels out here. And I recently did a podcast and a video about how to predict where to be to get ahead of that. And one of those methods is following infrastructure, which doesn't sound new or sexy, but breaking that down to following sewer lines. So not everywhere out here is on sewer yet, but if you want to be able to sell to a developer or create higher density yourself, you have to have a sewer line. And so there's publicly available resources where you can find where they're planning to go next. You get ahead of that and you buy that land, home with a suite on septic, and you hold it until sewer comes. Bang, you're magically in the right place at the right time.
So with COVID hitting and students, at least in Vancouver, not going to school, are you not seeing that impact your rental rates in Victoria? It doesn't sound like it.
I have a student in my basement right now. He came out here from Ontario because he's attending Royal Roads University, which isn't very far from me. And the universities are still hopeful to getting back to classes. And it's just this deadline that keeps getting pushed and pushed. But what I've found is that some students, if they're able, like international students aren't really able to as much, but inter-Canadian students are, they come out here and they want to secure a spot now rather than compete with the mob when it opens up. So has there been impact on student housing? Absolutely, undeniable. Has it impacted rental rates? No, there's still too many people here fighting over this scarce inventory.
One of the things we have noticed in Vancouver is probably the main category of properties that are softening up, that have gone down in value, I would say, are properties that are older, don't allow pets, don't allow rentals, don't have in-suite laundry. Are you noticing an impact in that category in your sphere?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though in general the market is booming, there's segments that are doing really poorly.
Yeah.
And that would be one of them. Maybe not as much a rental point of view as a sale point of view, though, because something that's happened here that I'm sure most of the people watching are aware of is that strata insurance has been running rampant. We had one building here, their strata fees went up 80% when they had insurance. And so that's causing a lot of problems. People aren't wanting to buy this for a premium and end up paying $1,300 a month in strata fees. And so as a result, the prices have to come down. I know of a property coming up closer to the core of Victoria. The owners are about to get hit with $100,000 assessment each. Well, who just has 100 grand laying around when your property is only worth 300, even without that? Yeah. So there's going to be a problem here. it's at the same time, the other side of that coin is there's an opportunity for investors to come in and pick up what the homeowners couldn't deal with and turn that around.
Are you seeing any uptick in foreclosure volume or not yet?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, to be completely honest, I don't have my finger on the pulse of foreclosures. I keep hearing that it's gonna happen. Um, I'm not really sure. I know of the one here in Langford, and you see some of them come up here and there. But the way that our foreclosure system works, unlike the States, it's not nearly as competitive, right? It goes through a court process where the goal is to get as much money as possible. So unless you can find a way to get them before foreclosure, I'm not sure that you're getting much of a deal.
Agreed. Agreed. Any other questions you wanted to answer, and kind of thoughts that you thought people might want to know about that you haven't already covered?
That's I it's probably been a lot like a fire hose. But really what I want to reiterate here is, and Roland's recording this, so you should be able to rewatch it. And I want you to be able to look at and identify trends, whether they are macro or micro. Macro being all of Canada, mass migration and stuff, and micro being like your specific town, like this street to this street. And if you can identify those trends and just like put in 20 minutes, that actually can really set you apart from everybody else. Get to know the bylaws for the specific municipality you're in. Get on the mailing list for the city to find out about upcoming hearings where they talk about changing bylaws so you can get ahead of these things. I think that's really going to set you apart. As far as strategizing for your specific situation, get a hold of somebody like myself or like Roland or whatever market you're in. Find someone who specializes in investment real estate to start making this happen now.
Great close. Thank you, Colvin.
You're very
Last
welcome.
question. Where are you going to travel once we're able to travel out of country? Where's the first place?
Oh my gosh. I have never wanted to be somewhere tropical more in my life.
Yeah.
Like Victoria is the best climate in Canada, but the idea of being able to just swim into the ocean and grab some food and get back out and pick fruit and that's it, and be warm at the same time, I'm going somewhere tropical, probably Australia because that's where my wife's family's from.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. Buddy, thanks for the talk. Thanks for the info.
You're very welcome. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.